The S&P 500 made new all-time high last week, and the SPY, the S&P 500 ETF, printed a doji type of a candle here, and a lot of market participants is looking at this as a top for the market. And I do not share that viewpoint, and let me show you why. First of all, looking at this chart of the indexes here, you could see that on Thursday, the Dow Jones Industrial, along with the New York Stock Exchange Composite and the S&P 500, all three of these indexes make new all-time high and close at a new closing high. Now, the market typically do not top when you have multiple indexes making new high, and especially when you have the New York Stock Exchange Composite, which is a broad market index, making new high. So I have never seen the market top when the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index make new high. Now, you might say this time could be different. So let's take a look at the market internal, and see what they are telling us. Looking at the daily advanced decline on Thursday, when the S&P 500 made a new all-time high, there were over 70% of the stock traded in the New York Stock Exchange were advancing in price. And in addition to that, we saw almost 3-to-1 in favor of the up volume on the up-down volume ratio. So when you see that type of a strength in the internals, that is not a sign of a market top. In addition to that, also on Thursday, we saw over 400 stocks make new 52-week high, versus only 7 stocks in the New York Stock Exchange make new 52-week low. So once again, you did not see this kind of disparity between the 52-week high and 52-week low at a market top. So from the market internals and the indexes behavior, to me, this doji candle does not represent a market top. What it could be telling us is that the market is temporarily exhausted on the upside. So we might see a little bit of a pullback, and for the market to consolidate the recent run-up, then we'll likely see the market make another huge move up to make another new all-time high. And then I will be looking for the market to tell me, is that the top or not? Now let's go and take a look at the price action of the S&P and also the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at the daily candle stick chart for the ES here. You can see last week's price action, it actually came up to this upper range of the weekly expected move. It almost got up to the September upper range, and then it pulled back after this all-time high on Thursday. And now you can see that it found some support on Friday here, this low volume no or low volume dent here. So right now, we're basically looking to see what the price continue to push higher, or will it pull back and consolidate some of these gains here, and what the market is pricing in for the coming week. For the upper range is between 58.35 and 58.27, and that is right inside of the September upper range. And then for the lower range is between 56.89.50 and 56.55. So what the market is actually pricing in is for a new high up here that will take out or get into the September upper range. So we'll see, would it be able to get up to the the September upper range here at 58.03, and if it does, then we'd be keeping an eye out for the 58.27 and 58.35 range. But if the price continue to pull back, we'd be looking at this high volume node here, and see what this high volume node near the 56 what is this, 5697 or 5700, to see would it hold or would it come due and take out this lower range here. And if it does take out the weekly lower range, then we'd be watching for this low volume zone here to see would it get a little bit of a rejection and push the price back up. But if it doesn't, then we'd be watching for this distribution to get retraced, and that could push the price down to test the September lower range between 55.10 and 54.75. Looking at the SPY, the ETF for the S&P 500, you can see that it came up to the upper range, and matter of fact, it went to it on Thursday as it make a new all-time high. Then it pulled back, and right now sitting at this little bit of a high volume area here. So for the coming week, we're going to see would it be able to hold above this the upper edge of this balance area near the 564 area and pushes back up and then come up to this 2x extension and possibly get up to this September upper range. And for the coming week, the market is pricing in the upper range between 575.70 and 575.10, and the lower range between 561.40 and 558. So for the coming week, we'd be watching to see if it could come up, take out the upper range, then we could see the possibility of come up to this September upper range, 578.50 and 580. Now, if it decide to consolidate the recent gain, we will be watching for it to pull back into this area here, this low range somewhere around 561.40, and which is also in confluence with this high volume node here, and see what it get a bounce back up. If it doesn't, then we're basically looking for this thing to come due and possibly get down to this 1x, this minus 1x extension of this balance area around 549.89 or 550 area, and also that will put in play the September lower range here, this area here between 548.80 and 540. Now look at the NASDAQ future, the NQ here. We see that the NQ unable to get up to this pivot high. Remember, we're looking for this thing to come up to this volume edge and possibly get up to this low volume here and fill this gap. Then we could say that it could possibly work up toward the all-time high and put the all-time high back in play. Now last week it was unable to get up to this volume edge here, and right now it is sitting near this volume node here, this volume den. I have to change that. This is not a high volume node here. So for the coming week, we're basically watching to see would it be able to get up this edge, take out this pivot high here and get above this edge here and move into this gap fill area. And if it could do that, then it will be in proximity of putting the all-time high in play. Otherwise, we'd be looking for this thing to come down and see would it be able to find support in this area and also at this area. So that's basically near the 19,500 area to see would it be able to get a bounce back up and push us up once again and try to work itself up for this 20,280. Otherwise, we'd be looking for this thing to retrace back down for this low volume zone here, and that would bring it back down to this 19,000 area. And if we look at the QQQ, the ETF for the NASDAQ 100, you see that the Q came up to this upper range, and also it sort of took out this pivot high here, but unable to move to this low volume area, basically filling this gap last week and come up, get above the 492 and try to make its way up to this high volume node. So for the coming week, we'll be watching to see would be able to continue to push higher. And here's what the market is pricing in for the coming week. The upper range is 492 and 490.90, and you can see that it is coming up to this, basically the gap fill here, this pivot low here. Okay, so we'll see what the price be able to come up and take out the weekly upper range and move into this high volume node at 496.38 area. And if it does, then the all-time high is within distance to be in play. Now, otherwise, we'd be looking for the price to continue to pull back to this high volume area here, this high volume node near the 475, which is also in close proximity of this lower range of the weekly expected move, which is between 474 and 470. So we're going to be watching the price to see would it be able to come down and get a bounce back up, into this area here at the 485 area. But if it comes to this low volume, this lower range of the weekly expected move, then we'd be looking for the possibility for this thing to come down to this high volume node here near the 462.90 or 463 area and see would it be able to find support and push it back up. Otherwise, we'd be looking at this 455.69, this volume den here. Based on the internals and also the price action, I do not see that the S&P 500 have put in a top. I'm still looking for a higher high. Of course, it is a little bit extended. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the S&P 500 pull back a little bit and get closer back down to this 5,500, or maybe somewhere around this area here near the 5,600 before make another push to a new high. So unless we see some deterioration on the internal, I will continue to monitor for a higher high from the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones Industrial. I will not be surprised if we do not see a new high from the NASDAQ 100. If you find this video to be informative, be sure to smash the thumbs up, to give it a like and help promote this video on YouTube. And if you are new to this channel, click on the subscribe to support this channel. And be sure to go check out my newsletter at Substack. The link is in the description below. Is smtraderca.substack.com.